Well, novelist James Patterson is speaking at the Miami Book Fair, and he talked about the reading program that he has personally started. We wanted to look at some of the other reading programs that are available in the United States and see what their efforts are. I want to begin with Jane Robinson. She's the Chief Financial Officer of a group called First Book. Ms. Robinson, if you could describe what First Book is to start.
Yes, hi Peter, and I just want to say thank you to C-SPAN for all the incredible support you've given to the entire industry and the entire concept of reading and literacy. C-SPAN has been a leader on that, and it's wonderful just to salute you. First Book is a nonprofit that provides books and educational materials to programs serving kids in need, classrooms serving kids in need across the United States.
And how did you get started, and where do you get your funding from?
We started 20 years ago. In fact, we're celebrating our 100 millionth book distributed this week. Probably when this airs, it will have been last week. We started 20 years ago at Martha's Table in Washington, D.C. We have distributed more and more as the years have gone by because we've started newer models. Especially in recent years, we've distributed probably 10 million, 11 million a year. We support programs across the United States and now over 40,000. And our funding comes from, a lot of it comes from corporate cause marketing campaigns that we do, as well as individual donors and some foundations. But we have also created a revenue generating model, which is the First Book marketplace.
Now, Ms. Robinson, when you is there a special focus for First Book? Do you do the preschoolers, or do you work through classrooms, or what?
It's a great question. First Book has actually built a pipeline to support all programs serving kids in need, all classrooms serving kids in need. And Reading is Fundamental is a good example. We have over 1,900 Reading is Fundamental programs supported by First Book, as well as over 40,000 others. So Head Starts, school classrooms, after-school programs, mentoring, kids 0 to 18 are supported by First Book.
Well, Jane Robinson mentioned Reading is Fundamental, and we're joined by Carol Rasco, who is the president and CEO of RIF, or Reading is Fundamental. Give us the background, if you would, Ms. Rasco, on Reading is Fundamental.
Well, 46 years ago, Margie McNamara, wife of Bob McNamara, who was then in the cabinet, she went to a meeting that Jacqueline Kennedy called at the White House of all cabinet spouses. And Mrs. Kennedy is said to have told each spouse, we are each going to do something to make Washington a better place for the people who live and work here every day. And Mrs. McNamara had a great reputation as a reading tutor. She tutored the wealthier children in town, and she tutored children at from very poor economic backgrounds. She had found one day in her tutoring how much it meant to the 3 boys she was tutoring at a local public school to be given a book. She had brought books that her children had had years before and had been left at home, of course. And she let each of them take a book home. Well, one of the mothers came to the school the next day to return the stolen book, and they said, no, we want the child to have the book. And that started a tradition of RIF, when they present a book to a child, of writing the child's name in it or helping the child to write the name. RIF does not pretend to be the teacher of reading. RIF is here to help children, particularly those most at risk of not learning to read well and on time. That usually means poor children. We are here to help them see the joy of reading, first by putting that book in their hands that they have chosen and write the name in it. And then over recent years, we have really tried to begin to stress even more the parental involvement that needs to happen with that book if it's going to come alive. We have undergone a transition in the last year. For 34 years, we're 46 years old. For the last 34 years, we had a large federal book grant that was not funded in the FY12 budget. So we are now doing the kinds of things we probably should have done even more of, and forming collaborations with our friends at First Book. We have always done private fundraising, and we are stepping that up.
Now, the two organizations, and Carol Rasco, if you'd start, do you see yourselves as competitors, collaborators, or how?
Well, we see ourselves as collaborators. We get asked that question all the time about competitors. As Jane has already mentioned, we have a significant number of RIF programs who purchase their books from the marketplace that she mentioned. But we have always looked for all kinds of ways to be able to collaborate. And when the federal grant went away, First Book put together a wonderful proposal and came to RIF with this proposal to allow us to purchase books from them in a manner that would really allow us to purchase about 200,000 more books than we would normally get for the same dollar spent elsewhere. And so we're very excited that we're going to be giving this 1 million books over the next several months, and we're at this very moment starting the first distribution of those. We're focusing, as RIF is doing much of our work this year, on out of school time, when children are out of school for the winter holiday, spring break, and summer. And we're going to divide these books up among those times. RIF will produce activity sheets that will go home with these books over this out of school time, with the hope that through the school stressing it to parents or other groups that we serve, private nonprofits, that the parent will get engaged with reading with the child in the out of school time. So there's a lot of excitement on the First Book and RIF staff about this project right now.
Jane Robinson.
Yes, Carol's exactly right. We are collaborators in the extreme. Carol is a fantastic educator and has led the sector for a long time. And not too long, Carol, of course.
Of course.
But we have, you know, First Book has built a supply pipeline that supports programs like Carol's, like Reading is Fundamental, and many others who are doing fantastic work. Our primary model has been to build the logistics that can provide tremendous access for programs in classrooms serving kids in need, because that was a huge gap that was missing when our founders founded First Book 20 years ago. One of them, Kyle Zimmer, whom Carol is a great friend with, was volunteering at Martha's Table here in Washington, D.C., and realized that here were heroes, local heroes, supporting the kids who needed help the most in an environment that would work for hours and hours a day, and they were absolutely without resources, just a box of broken crayons, if they were beyond the reach of programs like RIF at the time, and many were. So what we realized was, well, we can certainly solve one part of this problem. We can build a pipeline to get great resources to them. Programs like RIF and others are increasingly devoted to what kind of content is available to these programs and how they use that content in the classroom. And we consider ourselves soldiers in the same war, taking on that challenge and expanding beyond what we've reached so far, so we can get completely across the United States and beyond with fantastic resources.
Jane Robinson, do you work with public libraries?
We do. We like to be sure that we get brand new books that are chosen by the administrators and teachers. That's our primary focus, but we absolutely have worked with our corporate partners to supply school libraries with brand new books. And we've had multiple initiatives that focus on really replenishing libraries.